Hi there. Let's use the Wyckoff lens to look at where Filecoin is at and where it is heading. And if you're new to my sessions, these are the three key takeaways or the three main points that I'll cover during the session. So let's start with the weekly chart of Filecoin. So last week we talked about the potential of Filecoin continue with more tests, and this week, while trying to climb above the bottom of the long-term playground zone. So this white box is the long-term playground zone, meaning since 2017-18 all the way to now, 70 to 80% of the time, the trading or the price of the Filecoin was within this area. All right, and we are, returning to outside of it, after trying to get back to the zone. Okay, that's the big picture. We are expecting more tests before the actual sign of strength happens. Okay, this was what happened 2 weeks ago. I consider that a sign of strength after the one we had in July. So it took 4 months time for this to come back again. So this time, maybe it would take a little while given the sentiments across the market. Okay, not until the negative sentiment finishes, and this shows the even lower volume at a point that it's not going any further down and flattens out, then there is a chance for the sign of strength to reappear. So when we get to the daily chart, we'll see some more detail. Previously we talked about this downward channel, all right, and I said it looks to me it found support at the white dashed line at around 1.96, and indeed it tried to break out, but then got rejected back to the white dashed line. That was 3 to 4 days ago. And then now after that breakout, but failed to stay above this white solid line, we have to adjust this channel box because the rate of descent or decline has just changed because of the 5 days from 14, or actually 1 day earlier, that tested that white dash line level, the 13th all the way to the 18th, 6 days in total. All right, those 6 days have changed the course of the decline. So from this to a more gradual but still a declining trend. All right, so if this is really an automatic reaction from the buying climax, okay, let's keep the question mark for now because we were discussing whether this very disappointing peak is a buying climax, which can totally happen in a daily chart. So compared to the weekly, where we're expecting a buying climax somewhere above at least the light blue key level of 4.75, best to get back to challenge the orange or the other yellow key level above $8. Okay, it's in the daily, it's a different story. So it can build up quickly and then come back down and continue with multiple distributions and accumulations and get to the same level where the weekly would go. So that's why you see a lot of these tags that are so frequent compared to the weekly. And this probably isn't what Wyckoff method was designed for, this time frame in the daily. But it's more than it's more like an experiment, based on a request from the community. Let's do something more exciting in a lower level time frame. So that's more like a trial. Okay, a lot of explanation why this happened. If that's automatic reaction, there were some small peaks over there. So let's consider those LPSYs. There's no second test, obviously. Otherwise, we'll see some bigger bulge, above the red line. I'm not trying to go to the daily. I just want to switch back to the candlesticks. So as of now, we see quite a bit of buying from this support line of 1.51 roughly, and a declining volume. So this may be a good sign that no one is selling heavily and nobody has to pick up the scraps from that level. Okay, that may be where we get to see at least the near-term bottom. And the reason also is that if we look at this accumulation period, since the selling climax back in October 11th, that's where the level is at. Especially today when it tested, it was where October 11th and 12th was. So it's understandable there's quite a bit of buying over there, because I believe a lot of people has accumulated during this period between October 10th, 11th, all the way till November 5th or 4th. Okay, so looking at this, if this continues to trade along this triangle, we only have about 1 to 2 days left before another breakout test. So again, is this going to tell us that it's going to resume the downtrend? Okay, remember the spring over here. It's still deeper than the current level. All right. If we look to the left, in history for Filecoin, there's no point lower than that, the one for now. I hope it breaks outside of the downward channel at least. Okay, at least trade sideways for long enough, not like 5 days. Okay, not something like this. It's more like horizontal, and then eventually the volume builds up when it's the days for white candles. Okay, then it can have a chance to go challenge the higher levels and show a sign of strength. Alright, so for Wyckoff stage in the daily, we're more looking at, have we seen the selling climax already? Alright, and that afterwards, there is automatic rally. It may bounce back to challenge this 1.94 or 95 level. Alright, so that's what we hope to see in the daily charts. And if it's going to the downside, obviously, the selling climax may not be over. I'm just parking it here for the time being because of that buying from this line. It doesn't mean the selling climax is there. It can go lower. So after that, after the automatic rally, there can be more tests. Let's just use second test for now. Okay, after the selling climax, much like what happened here back in October. Okay, just a month ago, not too far in history. So the big picture itself is telling us it's still within accumulation. The daily picture is telling us, again, it's seeking another selling climax, a new accumulation cycle that happened after October. So if crypto is not going to collapse entirely and these projects are still going to continue, this may be a point where we will see the winners survive. And imagine that you get Amazon or some other magnificent companies today that started way back in 10, 15, 20 years ago while the industry was struggling, and you captured those winners at the low price point. That's where the biggest gain is. But remember, crypto is highly risky. I said many times, they are like startup companies. We never know which one will survive. And startups, about 80% of them, or even 90% of them, will disappear. That's for our long-term statistics that's been gathered around the world, not even just a particular country. So I hope the quality ones are going to survive, and the ones that are just not delivering or struggling to deliver can take this chance to look at what's really going to get them through this particular winter. Alright, thanks for joining me. See you in the next session.